Well, first of all, there has to be a basis for fasting and weeping. The Spirit of God moves through a people, and He can do so with a very limited amount of information. But at the same time, the sword of the Spirit is the Word of God. We must preach truth. We must put before men who God is so that they have a reason for weeping. We have an ignorance of God that's rampant in the land, and therefore our sin is not exposed. So along with revival fires comes the fire of preaching, and preaching truth about God. We've got to return to the basics. Now, fasting is seen throughout all the Scriptures. First of all of us would recognize that fasting is not a means to manipulate the hand of God. He lays His hand on the table, no one pries it up. He raises His hand and no one pulls it down. No one questions Him and asks Him what He's doing. But this is something that I want... Fasting has been a part of my life before I ever even understood its usefulness in my life. Fasting, for me, is a barometer or a measuring stick of passion. Let me give you an example. I love to hunt. So let's say that someone has promised me a bear hunt in Canada. Since there's so many people from Canada, if anybody bear hunts, I'll go with you. So someone's promised me a bear hunt in Canada. And for a year, I'm waiting and longing and thinking about going on that bear hunt. It's just filled my heart. And then, right when I'm packing up the car, my little boy, my eldest son, runs up to the car and says, "Father, my head," and he falls over on the ground. Now, at that moment, I'm not going to stamp my foot on the sidewalk and say, "Man, I've been waiting so long to go on this bear hunt, and now I can't go." I'm not going to allow a friend to tell me, "Look, I'll take care of your son. You just go ahead. You've been wanting to go on this bear hunt." No, at that moment, when my child grabs his head and falls to the ground, that bear hunt will be 1,000,000 miles away from me. And if someone were to even suggest that I go on that bear hunt, it would be just horrid, immoral. In the same way, for me, when our passion for Christ is so great that food almost becomes an immorality, when there is such a crisis in Christianity that you say, "Food no longer has a taste to me. I desire not the fellowship of men. If this one malady is not cured, I will die." And that is what we have to come to. We have to come to a realization that eternity here is at stake. The judgment of God is not going to fall. It has fallen. And we must recognize the dire need that we and our fellow humanity, the dire need that we are in. But again, that comes back to the preaching and the informing of the people. The law of God must be rediscovered in the temple. So there's all these things.